Hi guys, Looted Host here with another dank stream. I haven't been streaming for a while, which is my fault. Just been so busy, but I have been looking over these factions, the African kingdoms, for quite a while now. Played a few battles with them. Haven't done too much campaign-wise. I'm still stuck with the Masaesyli. I think I said it right for the first time. Masaesyli. I think Masaesyli is more appropriate. I have to go watch their video on the Creative Assembly's video on it, because they pronounced it properly. Anyway, I'm still on turn 108. Haven't done much campaign-wise. I'm not going to jump into the campaign because I'm stuck. I just wanted to quickly talk about a few of the changes that the patch that they came with did. So as you can see now, the speed and the mass of units are now identical. Celtic warriors are now light instead of heavy. I think it's the same thing with the Swebby. Yeah, round shield swordsmen are now light. Hex bearers are light. Wolf warriors I think are medium. They're still medium. Berserkers were always heavy, so that's fine. Spear brothers were heavy. Spearwall was light. Spearwomen were medium, I think. Or no, I think they were always light. And then modernized spears, everything's okay there. But yeah, basically, it kind of messes up a few things. It does change a lot when it comes to Celtic warriors, but I think that's a good thing. People kept on spamming Celtic warriors because they were heavy, and they moved as fast as light units. So it's definitely something I'm somewhat happy with. I kind of do wish Spear Brothers were still heavy, because spears don't get a lot of action in this game. Oh well, not a big deal, I guess. So I'm just gonna do a quick overview of the African kingdoms again. Kush is the archer faction. They do have the Shoto, or unique units. They have a regular swordsman who is fairly decent in prolonged combat compared to units their price. I haven't tried these guys against Bloodsworn yet, but I'm pretty sure they'd lose on the charge. In a prolonged fight they might win, though their melee defense is 50, their base morale is 40. It's possible they might not. Masaesyli is your Jav-Cav faction. They have Roman units, Roman Legionaries and Cohorts. They have the Vigiles as well, and they have Legionary Cav, which are medium. They also have, your Carthaginian Numidian Noble Cav unit. Nabatea is your Spear faction, though they do have a few good Cav units themselves. They focus more on Greek units like hoplites. They have desert hoplites, but these guys are more like light hoplites. These guys are somewhat closer to the veteran hoplites, so they don't really have a middle except the caravan guard, which is more of an anti-cavalry unit. They have good armor and can tank really well against cavalry, but will definitely lose to high attack, high armor piercing units such as Oathsworn. Or not Oathsworn, more like Praetorian Guard, who have decent armor piercing. Oathsworn probably would do a good deal of damage to these quickly as well. Long-term wise, basically almost any good sword unit can take care of them. They have the Wrecking Palace Guard, which I think is the highest non-hoplite spear, has the highest attack for a non-hoplite spear unit. Fairly good unit though, but I think I'd rather stick to desert hoplites because they have the elite spear. Something that I don't think a lot of people notice. Seba here you are, is your cavalry faction, but they have good camels like the eastern factions. They are eastern in design. As you can see, their infantry isn't splendid, but they do have better infantry than the eastern factions. Noble swordsmen are definitely a good unit to bring, but they don't have precursors, if I remember correctly. The Mascat Marauders do, but they are an axe unit who have a very good charge. I think that's the highest charge for an axe unit in Rome 2. You have your Sabine archers, obviously not 150 range, so it's up to you whether or not you want to bring them. I personally would not in most cases. I'd rather just stick to slingers. Shot cavalry, camels, or their camels are better than the Parthians. You have Royal Married Cav, basically a cavalry faction. So with that being said, I've won with all of these factions. I think I said that before, but I have not written my guide to them yet. I'm going to probably try to do that today, later on, because I know what I want to write about or type about. So with the Kush, I'm going to try to make an army right here using large funds. Yep. So first off, I usually go for archer supremacy. Usually Nubian bowmen are good enough. If I feel like my archers will run out of ammunition, though, these probably would not. Well, actually, in large funds, it probably is good enough. Never mind. Next, swordsmen do have precursors, if I'm correct. They should anyway, because the disciplines of Epidemic don't. They're like your high tier berserker unit. Anyway, Shodo warriors should be your core, but they're very expensive. Hence why you want to somewhat try to balance it out between your archery and your melee infantry. Leopard warriors shouldn't be your core, especially because their armor is solid, or under average, or below average, rather. And obviously this is not a spear game, this is a sword game, so you want to focus on either swordsmen, in a way. You can have 2 swordsmen for almost the price of Shodo warriors. 2 swordsmen comes up to 840, and then you still have 20 talents left to spare. So it's really up to you how you want to play it. If you want to play it like how the Swabians are, you can bring 5 of these, because there's no limit. But then you'd have a slight problem where you could bring, say, 3 of these, and if you want spears, because you don't need spears in most armies, you could bring 2 leopard warriors for aggressive cav fighting. Cavalry-wise, I'd rather just stick to armored desert cav. They're pretty reliable. They don't have a bonus of 15, and their charge is 30. But for their price, they do the job that they have to. Just have to be careful of their morale, and you want them supported, which is why you'd want leopard warriors. Personally, I'm fine with 4, but in this scenario, I still have 3,000 left over, so I can bring 2 Kushite Royal Guards. I'm not a big fan of using chariots. In a lot of cases, they're overpowered, especially if you don't have high mass spears. Because I ran into a problem when I was fighting Gallic Rome once, where they had chariots, and I couldn't take care of it, and I ended up losing. In a build like this, you'd probably be susceptible to chariots, though, as they move very fast. So you have, say, 1,400 left. Now you can either go for a single unit here, and that would complete the build, or you could go for 2 spears. It's really up to you. Personally, this would be a build that I'd try using against a faction that has elephants. This faction also has elephants, but you don't need them. Personally, I probably would never use them in this army, in this faction, really, because you stick to archery and you should be good. This is really good against highly armored factions like the Greeks and the Romans. I'd be very careful using it against the nomads, especially because if the nomads get rid of your cavalry, you know, that's game over, really. This build is not extremely mobile and anti-cavalry-ish. The archers will do a really good job if you can keep them at range, but besides that, you know, you're in a lot of trouble, as these guys will not stand up to a lot of cavalry charges, especially from high mass or shock cav. You can also go for 1 Kushite Royal Guard, go for a corps of Shoto warriors, backed up by 3 swordsmen. Go for 3 leopard warriors as your anti-cavalry. Instead, go for slave slingers. 3 should be good enough if you want to go close the distance. And then go for 4 armored cav, or armored desert cav. This can work if you feel that you're going to be blitzed, because slingers are almost always useful. They do run out of ammunition, but they can do really well against low armored units. They do really good against archers too, so if you're going up against our Verni and they bring Celtic bowmen, or not Celtic bowmen, Gallic bowmen, this will work really well, as long as you can spot them, of course. Your leopard warriors will make sure that their pesky cavalry is taken care of, as long as you support them with armored desert cav. They'll also have Celtic levy, most likely than not, so you can use them against that. It's a good matchup for you. Your Shoto warriors should have no problem dealing with pretty much anything that their Verni has except Oathsworn, but that's why you have 5 of them. And in worst case scenario, somebody might bring, say, 5 or 6 Celtic warriors and then 4 Oathsworn. In that case, you'd have a hard time dealing with them. But if you micro these guys well, it should end in your favor. I've had experience dealing with multiple Oathsworn, and I was able to deal with the general, get rid of the general, the Celtic, the Celtics. Why am I forgetting the names? The Celtic warriors will end up running if you hit them hard enough, and then the Oathsworn you can just surround. Is there a build that you can use armored Shoto warriors with? The answer is yes, but you have to be careful, because armored Shoto warriors do 50 weapon damage and 40 attack. Now the problem here is the 40 attack, because say you're going up against the Lusitani, their core is the veteran shield warriors, right? Now their core has 75 defense, right? Their armor is 30, so you should have no problem dealing with the armor. However, when you're dealing with them after your charge bonus is gone, you know, all they have to do is have you charge onto Skitarii Spearmen, or most likely Skitarii Spearmen. I think any other unit except the Lusitani Nobles would probably get massacred. But after that, you're going to be hitting 15% of the time, because the base hit chance is 40, and then it goes down by every melee attack and melee defense difference. So there's a difference of 35 between the defense of the veteran shield warriors and the attack of your armored shoulder warriors. The problem, therefore, is that you're going to be hitting 15% of the time, whereas since your defense is 56 and their attack is 50, they're going to be hitting 34% of the time. Sorry about that. So the difference of 15% on your side and 34% on their side means that they'll be able to hit more often, a little bit over twice as much. On the charge, therefore, you'd have to rely on your charge. I'm going to try to do a battle with that just to show my point. I could be completely wrong. You know, they might be able to win regardless. Yeah. So I'm gonna have them charge onto my Scutari spearmen, and then follow up with my veteran shield warriors. Their weapon damage is probably the only thing that would save them in a situation like that, where they charge onto the Scutari spearmen and then the veteran shield warriors charge in behind. Because again, 50 weapon damage, 30 armor. They have 20 armor piercing already. So worst case scenario, the Lusitani, the veteran shield warriors will just block all the weapon the regular weapon damage, and then they'll still be hit with the armor piercing. So worst case scenario, it takes 3 hits to kill these guys.
Melee fighters ready!
Probably should have switched maps, but it's okay.
Amen. Understood. Stay as you are. Run, Casio!
So obviously they're a high threat compared to me because of the armor difference, which I forgot to mention as well. These guys have 95 armor, which means that they'll definitely be blocking, for the most part, all of the base damage on the veteran shield warriors. So these guys will be able to kill these guys in 3 hits, but for a veteran shield warrior to kill an armored shoulder warrior, it's much different. Let me just do the math real quick. It would take about 16 hits, worst case scenario.
Lusitani nobles! Our spears are yours!
Okay, just gonna fast forward a bit here.
Hack them down! Orders! Scutari spearmen! Shield screen! No! You have our spears! Lusitani nobles!
See, I was right. The armored shoulder warriors are gonna have an extremely tough time dealing with the veteran shield warriors. The Scutari spearmen's not a big deal, you know, they're expendable. Of course, when you add these two together, like their price, I think it's 20 more talents than the armored shoulder warriors. So it's not a huge difference, but still, this is pretty sad. The veteran shield warriors are gonna get hit hard every time they are hit successfully. It takes like at least 3 hits. It can take like 2 in perfect circumstances, but it can't take 1 unless they're charging. It's one of the beautiful things of understanding Rome 2. When you know how a unit will compare against another unit without actually having them paired up. So even though it takes a lot more hits to actually kill the armored shoulder warriors, they're able to do it because the charge is put on the Scutari spearmen instead of the veteran shield warriors. Because,
the battle is turning in our favor.
The veteran shield warriors would get massacred if they took the charge head on, and they'd be hit one time and done almost all the time up until the charge bonus is done. So it's obvious that it's not going to end well for the armored shoulder warriors. My spearmen are getting hit pretty bad, but their defense is what's holding them up.
Our spears are yours, veteran shield bearers!
But yeah, it's pretty obvious that they're not going to win. Now, to prove my point, I'm going to have the veteran shield warriors take the charge instead. They should lose very quickly. I think even if you pair them up with shoulder warriors, they'll lose pretty quickly.
Shield warriors! Lusitani nobles! Ready for battle! Lusitani nobles! Warriors! I'm ready!
The first thing that's going to hit these guys hard is the precursors, as they have a 25% missile block chance. Not sure about these guys. Already lost 8 models. Yeah, this is not going to end well at all. I think the only thing that's saving them right now is the fact that they were spread out. But now, as it calms down, it looks like they're still going to lose. Yeah, they're still going to lose. They should lose.
The battle is turning in our favor.
They should lose. It wouldn't make sense for them to add a unit. Yeah, they should lose. So yeah, they can't take the brunt.
The men are wavering
and come off the winner. So take note if you want to use the Lusitani against the Kush, or if you're using the Kush against the Lusitani. The faction I'm most interested in right now, though, is the Masaesyli. And The reason is because they do not synergize at all. Like, their infantry is very unique. Gatuli tribesmen don't have a shield and no armor, so they just have swords. If you use them right, I think they will do really well. The one thing that the Romans don't have is like an anti-infantry unit. So if you use these guys as an anti-infantry unit for like charging and then retreating behind the lines, it might work. They don't have like fear. If you want fear, you have elephants. You also have chariots, but again, I'm not a big fan of chariots. For the most part, I've been experimenting with this faction the most, and I've come to the conclusion that you have to be very selective with your skirmishing, because you can use tribal slingers no problem, but I've had constant problems with using the heavy Numidian skirmishers as they cost quite a bit, and I was thinking to myself, after they're done using their missiles, I can just use them. Or if they're not even done using their missiles, but they're going up against like Celtic Levy, you can just keep them there, and it ties down the Celtic Levy and any other unit that wants to charge in. So if you're going up against the Arverni, you can use these guys as frontline units, and then they'll tie down the Celtic Levy and most likely win, and then they'll also tie down, say, chosen swordsmen, which allows you to countercharge or flank, depending on how you want to proceed. But I think this faction is more of a mobile skirmishing faction, where you want to have good Javcav. Armored Numidian cavalry are very expensive, but they are probably the best Javcav out of the four of these, because Gatuli horse skirmishers do have more weapon damage than the Numidian cavalry. But they don't have a quick reload. Thing is, I think this caps out at 15, and I can't remember how much quick reload gives because it's a percentage, not an actual number, if I remember correctly. Actually, no, it might just be 7. Quick reload might just give 7 to your shots per minute. But the problem is, because of how units reload, you don't actually get 14 shots per minute. I think we have the same problem in Attila, where the fastest a Hunnic horse archer can fire is in 7 seconds instead of 5, because it takes them 5 seconds to actually reload, or not actually reload, to like aim, 1 second to draw their bow, and 1 second, no, it takes them 2 seconds to draw their bow, about 2 seconds, and then 5 seconds to aim, and then fire. But anyway, I've tried using Numidian Noble Infantry as my general, as it is an infantry. This is an infantry game. You can go for armored Numidian riders, but I think this is the best choice overall. Your corps can consist of Legionaries or Cohorts. I've tried Cohort because I've gone up against factions that have high armor piercing. But I went up against Tylus and I uploaded the video to YouTube. And I made the mistake of actually using the Cohort instead, forgetting that the attacking weapon damage are the same, but the defense is different. I was thinking to myself, if I use the Cohort, I might be able to withstand tribal warriors. But what I should have done was I should have used Legionaries, as even though they have less defense, I'd be able to bring other units instead of having to rely on heavy Numidian skirmishers, who you can only bring 5. So my build, my favorite build would be 5 of these, maybe 3 of these, depending on what you're going up against. I'll fix this later, obviously. Armored Numidian spearmen, tribal slingers, 3 of these, and then a unit of Gatuli horse skirmishers. The reason why is because I used to, like off stream, I do stuff like this just to see how this faction works without the use of a lot of horse skirmishers. The reason why they are very good with horse skirmishers is because they are the only faction that actually has high tier horse skirmishers that, you know, are not nomadic. They're not nomadic. And these guys already have a good reputation because of Carthage. If you're going up against where are they? Royal Scythia, though, you'll probably run up into a problem where these guys, the Numidian noble cavalry, have more attack than the Scythian royal skirmishers. But I think, yeah, they have less health. They have less health, and that is a slight problem. But I mean, people don't use the nomads a lot because they're hard to micromanage, and people will spam horse archers or something stupid. But anyway, this is one of my good builds, mostly because they consist of 8 melee units, 2 spears for, you know, dealing with those pesky cavalry encounters, making them somewhat cost effective instead of like using these legionaries to counter cavalry, which is such a burden. They're also pretty slow. You use 3 cav to counter cav, you use your legionaries and cohort to counter infantry, and you use your slingers to engage at long range. The only problem with this build is if you're outgunned, because then you have to close the distance, and that's where you might make a mistake. So let's change the build to consist of the Numidian noble infantry. You can have, say, 4 of these, but I think one time I brought 3 of these, and then I brought 3 here. I had 4 armored cav. Something's wrong. Oh no, I remember. Yeah, I had 2 of these. Yeah, I don't have the spears, that's why. I had 1 cohort, because nothing here costs 900. And then I had a Gatuli tribesman. This is a very risky build. It has heavy Numidian skirmishers who, if you don't use them properly, can be taken out of the game very easily by heavy mass cav or shock cav. You have your Numidian light infantry, which you have to take with you have to be very careful with how you use them. The difference between the Masaesyli or the Romans and the Celtic tribes is that the Celtic warriors can get away with charging head on and then being supported with chosen swordsmen or other units, because that's how the faction works in a sense. But with this faction, since you're using Roman units or Roman-like units, charging is probably not your best friend, as you only have 14 charge here and 12 there. These guys have a charge bonus of 28. So if you use it the way I used to use my other units, where you charge in with cavalry first and then follow up, that could, you know, do a lot of serious damage to a unit that doesn't have a lot of mass. But when you're going up against heavy units or very heavy units, or even the Spartans, it becomes a problem. Just because they'll have, in the Spartans' case, they have the health. But in the other cases, their mass will be able to withstand most of the damage. And if they have precursors, these guys don't have a lot of armor. I'm not even sure of their missile block chance. Gatuli tribesmen, however, are very funny because they act like Thurio spears, or not Thurio spears, more like ambushers because they're a sword unit as well. They also have guerrilla deployment. So do these Numidian light infantry, which is why they cost what they do. So their use probably is more for exploiting gaps in your enemy's army, but that requires a lot of micro. And it requires a lot of patience too, because a lot of people like to use these frontally, or they like to use them as soon as possible, or they like to use them with these guys. I've made the mistake a number of times with this faction where I tried to close the distance after I tried to get up in your face with the Numidian skirmishers. I tried to use the Numidian light infantry to close the distance, and then I tried to follow up with the Desert Legionaries. But if you think about it, that's not how Rome works, right? And that kind of brings us back to the point where I said that this faction does not synergize well, because Numidian skirmishers are better than whatever Rome can bring javelin wise. Desert Legionaries and Cohort cost, well, the Legionaries definitely cost 40 more. The Cohort, I'm not sure. They cost 50 more than the Eagle Cohort. Can't figure out why they would, considering that statistically they're the same. But all they have is the resistance to heat. Can't figure out why. I'm sure there's a reason. Anyway, these guys cost more, so it's harder for this faction to do what Rome can do, in a sense. These guys are more for an up-your-face thing, but the funny thing is that this faction relies more on their javelin cav, but their good javelin calves are expensive, whereas the ones that you can't use in a melee fight are fairly cheap, obviously. Very good if you could micro them well. I think it would be better off using 2 of these, at least 2. So I'm going to try to build my army around that, where I have a Numidian noble infantry. You can also switch it up for a Numidian noble cavalry if you want just 1 armored cav. Then you have this 2 cav units. You can bring 3, but if you're being blitzed, you might run up on a problem. Five Legionaries, no missile infantry. That's a problem. I had a build before, but I don't know. Can't remember what it was. A desert cav, 2 armored desert cav, an armored Numidian cav, and a Numidian noble cav. 3 desert cohorts, 5 here, 4 here. I think this would be good if you're dealing with like the low tier rushes that a lot of solid players like to bring. Personally, I think this is a bit risky, especially if you're going up against somebody that has a lot of skirmishers and knows how to, skirmish them well. Definitely dangerous against the nomads because you're using a lot of melee infantry, and all they have to do is, you can't skirmish against the nomads if you don't have archers of your own or your slingers. If you have javelins, that doesn't help, and I've had that experience on a video I uploaded, which I mentioned before. So ultimately, I'm still trying new things with the Masaesyli, but I'm getting somewhere with them. So if we're going up against the Romans, might be a good idea to have a corps of these, 2 of the Numidian light infantry and the Gatuli tribesmen. Do they have the same ammunition? I think they do. Yeah, they do. They all have the same ammunition. Forgot about the attack difference between these two. It's just that they have more armor and it doesn't make sense. I already have 2 of those. One cohort isn't a bad idea. 2 skirmishing cav can bait their own skirmishers. Might end up losing these Numidian cav, but that's not a big deal. 2 armored Numidian spearmen, cost effective against their own cav, can be useful for aggressive flanking. 6 legionaries to go up against his own infantry. Gatuli tribesmen if he tries to, if he exposes his rear, don't mind popping these guys. And then the Numidian light infantry for opening engagements. If he has Hastati, I can pair them up with these Numidian light infantry. Pretty sure that these guys would win. It would be funny if he had his own Numidian light infantry. Worst case scenario, he has elephants, because the Romans can bring elephants. They can't bring chariots though. I think if they could bring chariots, they'd be overpowered. Gallic Rome is not overpowered, even though it seems like it. They're just really good at killing infantry. Like, look at Palmyra. Palmyra is good at killing cavalry, and they're not overpowered. And then regular Rome is just a balanced faction that's just stronger than everyone else. I think he's AFK. So we'll try to get into another one. But right now, like I said before, the Masaesyli is the faction that I'm trying my best to understand the most. The reason is because out of all of the 4 factions, it's the Masaesyli that I think cannot synergize properly. Nabatea has some problems here and there, but they can hold the line. They can skirmish relatively well. You don't even need Nabatean heavy archers. They can do hammer and anvil because they have pikes, they have spears that can hold the line. Their offense is not too bad because of their noble swordsmen. Their axe warriors are, specialists when it comes to dealing with armored units, obviously. And then their own swordsmen are not too bad either. With Saba, it's just, Eastern tactics are your best way forward. Although you have camels instead of regular cav. But I mean, Royal Marib cav are pretty good. I liken them to Azat Knights. I don't even know... Azat Knights cost more, I know that much, but statistically they're very similar. Like, they have the useless expert charge defense. They have resistance to heat, which is... it's what I think almost I think every Eastern faction will have that trait, and I think it's that trait that makes their units cost more. Because pretty much anything down here will make the unit cost more. It's also basically any ability, except guard mode, because guard mode is free. But guard mode wasn't included in vanilla Rome 2. Don't think a lot of people remember that. I do. Anyway, back on the topic. Masaesyli is the one faction that does not synergize. It just doesn't synergize at all. Or maybe it does synergize, but I can't see it. You know, that's possible.
At your command.
Ready for battle. At your command.
We fight for you, my lord.
At your command. Ready for orders. Retreat! Come, join our ranks. My lord. You there! Get to work!
Orders, my lord!
Numidian cavalry! Orders! Orders, my lord! Melee infantry at the ready!
Numidian noble infantry!
Infantry!
Scutarii! Battle ready and eager! Our horses love blood! Battle
Awaiting
ready
orders!
and eager! Numidian noble infantry! An unwashed and unpleasant foe! These Gauls find their courage in strong drink. We need no such draught of bravery. We are men, not reeking drunks. We will send these filthy whoresons to their dark afterlife. Make ready!
My lord! On me! Our orders! Marching orders!
Our orders! Forward!
Awaiting orders! Advance at feet!
Ready!
Okay.
Numidian cavalry!
This is a bit tricky, but basically they have a lot of infantry. Most of them, I mean, they're all low tier, but he does have a lot. Does have skirmishing power as well. These ones actually have a lot of chevrons. I think that's rank 7. Rank 2, rank 1, not a big deal. They should have made the chevrons make cost more, but give them more attack and defense. Excuse me.
Riders at the double.
Don't want to micro both sides.
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
I think I'll micro one side at a time because I'm going up against the AI.
Advance at speed. Riders advance. Quickly now.
Shoot. I want to follow that. Let's put these guys here.
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
Forgot my general.
Median cavalry! Riders at the double! Advance at speed! Quick! Reload! Quickly now! Advance at speed!
There. I think he put on frenzied charge. Shoot.
Our hidden units have been discovered.
Missile armed riders! Numidians! Double time! Ready! Forward! Riders, advance! Numidian cavalry! At the ready! Quick march! Battle ready! Fighters ready!
Where's my... Here you are.
Numidians! Scotarii! Run! Casio!
We need to get rid of those skirmishers.
Forward! Forward!
It's a good thing my Legionaries have a good amount of armor.
Riders! Forward!
Going to charge frontally there, that's fine. I think I got rid of the cav, that's good.
At the double! Cap for glory!
Atari should get rid of the rest. Slowly Freeman. It's a lot of damage.
Melee infantry ready!
I usually use light units to chase away the Celtic youths, but I don't have Gatuli tribesmen on me.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
It's another volley.
Iberian cavalry! Numidian cavalry!
We are at your command!
The battle is turning in our favor.
Riders at... We hunger for blood and battle! Spears at your command!
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
One of the funniest things about this faction is that they can do a lot of damage really quickly if you let them. Because of their javelins and melee attack and so forth.
Numidian cavalry!
Oh shoot, I wasn't even paying attention.
Our hidden units have been discovered.
Right now I don't mind losing my mercenaries.
Riders at the double!
Cavalry!
Get rid of the the general.
Numidian cavalry! Forever loyal! My lord! Quickly now! Faster! Reload!
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Numidian cavalry! Quickly now!
I think that could have went a bit better. But I didn't lose as many of my legionaries as I thought I would. I guess because of how I attacked. Scutari did really well, though. Obviously because they're going up against low tier units, but it is what it is. The synergy is lacking in this faction, but they can do a lot of damage if you use them right. A lot of damage comes from the melee attack of these guys, the charge and melee attack of these guys, the weapon damage of their javelin cav in general, and the melee attack of their higher tier javelin cav. However, you have to put them in a position for them to succeed. Like the javelin cav have to bait cavalry. These guys have to go frontally against most units. You can't let them get swarmed, and it's separated and isolated just like the Romans. So you use them right and
On the move, my lord.
should be good. Now I think, yeah, I can probably secure this province now.
None will escape.
Oh no, I can't. Navy's too big. They also have chosen swordsmen as a garrison.
Besieging
But I can't besiege them, so it's up to them if they wanted to come and try to take Ars. But now I can go on the offensive here.
Stop all, my lord. My lord. At your command.
Yikes. Yikes.
Fall back!
I might have to retreat again. I'm not dealing with Oathsworn. I didn't see an army, and I guess it's because my spy's down here, and I must have thought that that was the only army. But dealing with Oathsworn is a doozy for Legionaries. Legionaries can't do it, and I don't have the high tier Javcav to deal a lot of damage to them with not just by like the javelins, but also melee attack wise.
Retreat! Gathering supplies, my
Yeah, they're not gonna follow. Because I probably could have fought them without the reinforcements here, but otherwise just wouldn't work. So again, I will most likely not be writing my writing or typing the guide, because I finally understand each faction. It's just doing good with them. And you're probably thinking, why didn't I go for this right now? It's because I'm gonna end up with the same problem. It's just that, like, I have to deal with those Oathsworn, and I don't want to do that right now. The Scutari can stay. I might need them a bit longer. And then right now I'm researching intensified agriculture. I'm going to need these buildings to boost my food output, just in case I start building a lot of military buildings around here. The Navy's still there. They're going to wait for that army to come because it's right here. it.
I will come from the darkness. I've carried out your order. We will fight for you, my lord. Our lord needs good fighters.
Right now I can only rely on these low-tier Jav Cav and Desert Cavalry. I don't even have access to armored Cav yet. I will next turn. Oh, look, another army.
Kill them all! Let them cower before our might!
Wish I had an army close enough. This one has 2 Oathsworn, 2 Chosen Swordsmen. But look at those chevrons and the melee attack too. Must be army traditions. The attack of the heavy horse is normal because they have 20% more attack. But it's kind of ridiculous that they have this much attack and then their defense is 75. It's probably worse than dealing with veteran shield warriors because they have armor too.
Ready for further orders.
Gonna have to bust out the big guns. But first, I want to see if...
Sabotage.
Okay, it did work. It's probably for the best if I get rid of all of them. And I stick to 2 armored desert cavalry and 2 armored Numidian cav. This might work. Politics wise, I should be good. Do I need anything? Authority's normal, zeal's normal, cunning is good. Nothing needed here. Don't need a politician either, because I'm at 65. I'm at 1% risk because of the Masaesyli. Once this goes under -10, you can they can secede. Thing is, I don't want that to happen to begin with. Their influence is lower right now. I don't have that many. Treaties, I think. I know I have 3, and that's why they're upset. Macedonia, Rome, and Syracuse. But I'm at war with two factions.
All men must serve.
So weird.
Your command.
Oh, I hope that army's still in forced march, because if they are, I'm going to attack them. I don't think they are, but if they are, I'm going to see if I can attack them. They're not close.
For honor and great glory!
You know what? I'm gonna break off
Retreat, man, retreat!
because it's not gonna go anywhere. I don't have any siege engines. I only have a chariot, and I can recruit better units now.
Come join our ranks.
I want to take Araculum. I'm leaving this army here to deal with the
We fight for you, my lord.
Galaisi.
Kill them all! That is impossible, my lord.
They'll die off sooner or later.
As you
Yeah,
command.
they're still in forced march. Even though their morale is up a bit because they're in a settlement, I think. Pretty sure that's how settlements
Ready
work.
for battle.
Because of that, they have the morale boost.
At your command.
Yeah, plus 10% morale. So it negates their... It somewhat negates their morale for being on a forced march. I think it's still minus 25.
My lord.
Yeah, so it's they're at minus 15 morale right now. If only I had a champion. I think my champion died, so I haven't recruited
We
one.
fight for you, my lord.
But yeah, I can definitely win, but I would need slingers. So I'm going to hire 2 here, and that's it.
Let them cower before our might.
The garrison army probably is the biggest challenge, but other than that, this is winnable. The Gallic hunters are damaged. One of the chosen swordsmen is damaged. The Oathsworn, however, are fairly good. The general is pretty good too. Might not be winnable, especially because of the Oathsworn. If I draw them out to an open battle, I could win, because, oh, they are going to come out for an open battle. They have the numbers. They definitely have the numbers, but I have, I have 2 armored Jav Cavs, which I'm definitely going to use to get rid of his light Cav. My regular Cav will be what takes care of these skirmishers. My Legionaries can deal with, even the chosen swordsmen they can deal with in a prolonged fight. They can't deal with the Oathsworn though, and that's what I need my Jav Cav for in reality.
Infantry!
My Numidian light infantry, my hope is that I can just get rear charges. Might be a problem. I might actually use one of my Scutari and then one of the Numidian light infantry to tackle the general, see if I can kill him really quickly. I'll give it a try. First off,
Melee infantry at the ready.
front line looks like this. Might split them up to cover more sides. I don't think I can do it. Yeah, I can't do it here because they're using the Carthaginian setups. That's fine. It's not a big deal. Slingers are to engage at long range. Might use them.
We'll kill them all.
Actually, I don't think, besides engaging them at long range, I don't think they'll have any use.
Melee infantry. Shieldmen.
Okay, keep them here.
Spearmen.
General here.
Cavalry.
Keep my cavalry in the back.
What are
Simple
your
setup right
orders?
now.
Move out. Advance at speed.
My computer went through an automatic update and I haven't really checked the settings on any of my games, but I noticed that my another game I have on Steam, the settings went up and I didn't change the settings before the update. So I have to see if the same thing happened with Rome 2. I'll do that afterwards.
Orders, my lord. Riders, advance.
So right now the plan is fairly simple.
Forward.
They have the more skirmishers, but my skirmishers are better. I'm going to have to run up to them, obviously. They have superior cav. Better. Well, their cav is for the most part better. They have more melee tech for sure. This is the whole army too, like including the garrison. So it's pretty big.
Legionaries. At the double. Cavalry.
I'm gonna slowly
My
walk
lord.
up there, but I do want to harass his cavalry.
Riders, advance.
So what might end up happening is the AI might move forward once I close the distance. I'm not going to put my Jav Cav on
We await
the same
your
side.
orders. Quickly now.
I'm going to micro one of them because I've had problems dealing with the AI where I'm trying to micro both of them at the same time, but then all of a sudden the AI gets more aggressive. So
Cavalry.
I might actually run out of ammunition dealing with their cavalry, and that's what I'm afraid of.
We understand.
Because I'm going to need the ammunition to deal with the Oathsworn. As I can't.
Advance at
It's
speed.
very unlikely that
Our hidden
I'll be able
units
to
have been
micro
discovered.
the slingers to do that.
Riders, advance. Riders at the double.
Gotta turn around.
Forward. Orders, my lord. Noble infantry. My lord.
He's going in for the charge.
Now.
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
Warriors, eager for blood. Cavalry. Orders. Amisos. Missile armed riders. Cavalry. Numidians. At speed. At the ready. Orders. Ready. Riders at the double. They will bleed for Virtus.
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
Okay, everything's okay so far. Probably should have put my general in the middle.
At the ready. As you command. As you say. Forever loyal. Cavalry. Tax the Argos. As you command. Orders.
Oh, they caught my cav. That's not a big deal. Just send the Scutari over. Should be fine.
Swift riders. Our orders! Riders and orders! Riders at the double! We are at your command! Orders!
Our general is under attack.
Numidian
Ready!
infantry!
Understood!
Numidian noble infantry!
Slingers! Ready for battle! As you say! Now! Warriors! Ready! Ready to march!
Over here I should win. Over here I should win as well, even though it looks like they're losing. The general's coming out, but my Scutari are still over here. I'm gonna get rid of my
Missiles ready!
Scutari. I'm gonna get rid of these units. Yep.
We
Now I can deal
One
with
of our
the
units
general.
has used all its ammunition.
Just afraid of my men breaking on me.
Cavalry! Numidians! Cavalry! Our orders! Ready! Ready! Slingers! Cavalry! Throw weapons! At the ready!
Scutari!
Slingers! Noble infantry!
Legionaries! Fearless warrior!
The men are wavering.
I'm gonna lose my slingers, but right now I'm in a okay position.
Cavalry!
This fight's taking longer than I hoped.
We await your
Warriors ready!
The general is open, but I'm losing in the center. I might end up losing my general too.
Infantry at your command!
Yeah, I might end up losing my general.
Scutari!
I have to
Yeah!
route these guys over here.
Cavalry! Engage! Orders!
Come on.
Cavalry! We await your orders! Slingers! Loose! Numidians! We await your orders! For glory! Forward! For honor! Awaiting orders! Numidians! My lord!
It's taking these guys so long.
Forever! As you wish! At the ready! Malay infantry! For glory! My lord! Swift riders! We understand! Awaiting!
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
Scutari! Ready to march! Scutari!
Yeah, I'm gonna lose my general.
Withdraw!
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
We await your orders! Swift and accurate!
But I have my skirmishers finally. So let's turn this around.
Riders!
Battle ready! Kill! Kill!
Ready!
Kill!
Quickly now!
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
Awaiting orders! Awaiting orders! As you wish! As you command! My lord!
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Run! Curse you! Legionaries! What are your orders? Infantry! We await your orders!
Surprised I haven't lost my
One of our
general.
units has used all its ammunition.
Forward!
But yeah, these guys are pretty tough.
Engage! Awaiting orders! Orders! Forward! Our orders! Gideon! Cavalry! As you My say. Lord! Riders advance! Awaiting orders! Infantry at your cavalry! Strategos!
Scudari!
Battle! Ready! Slingers!
Our men flee the field of battle! This is a shameful display.
Cavalry! Cavalry! For honor! We are at your command! Slingers! Forward! Back!
Our men flee the field of battle! This is a shameful display.
Forward! For honor! Stand Dolizas! We understand! As you wish! To glory! No gods, no glory! Riders advance! Numidians! Cavalry! Back!
Our men flee the field of battle! This is a shameful display.
Direte! Forward! Cavalry! Direte!
These Oathsworns are packing a punch. Thankfully, these Scutari will definitely get rid of this one. And then I think after that we should win.
We understand! Cavalry! As you say! As you wish! Swift and accurate! As you say! Back, men, back!
Our men flee the field of battle! This is a shameful display.
Slingers! My lord! Riders advance! Advance at speed!
Yeah, that was a tough fight. Very, very tough. Lost a lot of men. Surprised I didn't lose my general, because if I did, I probably would have lost that. Like, these guys would have lasted longer. The Scutari probably would have been killed off because I would have lost my light infantry. And then my slingers would have been gone quicker as well. But though that Oathsworn unit was a tough one, the Chosen Swordsman also packed a punch.
We fight for you, my lord. My lord.
The worst part about that fight was that it seems like I'm going to be dealing with a lot of that this campaign. I won't make this any longer though, so I apologize if this isn't the content you're looking for. If you're looking for more, you know, multiplayer, more Rome 2 multiplayer games, like with the new factions, I'll probably upload those in the coming weeks. I just don't have enough time anymore because I'm trying to get into a trade school and a local union. I'm trying to become an electrician. You know, I'm hoping that I can take this trade and then also become a computer engineer. I think that would be really great for me. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Sorry it's been a while. I haven't uploaded in maybe a month. No, I actually uploaded a video about 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the date, but it was about my Masaesyli versus Tylus battle. But anyway, guys, hopefully more will come. So just stay tuned, and I'll see you guys until then. Bye, guys.